Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Let's Be Frank About Sports. I am your host, Frank Higino. Week 7 of the NFL has wrapped up, and it was a very difficult week locally as both the Jets and Giants had really crushing losses. One was relatively competitive in a game that the Giants were supposed to win, and the other one was a blowout in a game where some people thought the Jets had a chance, but they proved that they did not. And we even had players seeing ghosts, and we have some controversy about those comments and regarding ESPN and how players are being treated and if it's fair, all the different things that are out there in social media and on TV, all the craziness that goes on with the NFL. But we will start with the Jets because they were the Monday night game, and it was a really, really ugly game. One of the big storylines going into this game was the return of C.J. Mosley, because if you remember, in week 1 when the Jets were playing the Bills, who all of a sudden are running away with the AFC wild card, the Jets were putting together a really nice game until C.J. Mosley went down. Right then and there, you see the impact that C.J. Mosley has on this football team. And you have seen the difference he made for the Baltimore Ravens, as their defense has not been the same since C.J. Mosley left. But with him back in the fold, New England Patriots have been struggling on offense. The Jets' defense hasn't been too bad. You still have other key playmakers like Jamal Adams, Marcus May. You're hoping you could get Trumaine Johnson to live up to his contract. You want Leonard Williams and Quinton Williams to live up to their high draft picks. And along with C.J. Mosley, you're hoping that they could give the Patriots a little bit of trouble. And with as good as the Jets looked last week against the Dallas Cowboys, another week of Sam Darnold, you have Le'Veon Bell there, you got Demaryius Thomas there, you're hoping that the Jets could produce some offense. Neither one of those things happened, as the Jets lost this game 33-0, and it was over before you knew it because the Patriots got down the field so quickly since the Jets deferred, which is not really a good idea to let Tom Brady just kick your butt to start the game. But regardless, there's no real hole in this team. It's either go up against the greatest defense ever so far statistically. The Patriots are putting up really crazy numbers. Where it ranks as a defense all time, we'll let the rest of the season and playoffs go on to decide, where the Patriots rank as far as greatest defense. But still, there's no easy way to play the Patriots. They're a really tough team. They're undefeated, and they could finish the year undefeated. That is very possible with how well they're playing, and they just made the trade to acquire Mohamed Sanu. So that's going to be another target that Tom Brady is going to have. That's been the one area that they've struggled with: the retirement of Rob Gronkowski, the release of Antonio Brown, and then retiring, trading away Demaryius Thomas, the injury to Josh Gordon. Tom Brady is very limited on the amount of targets that he has, so we'll see what Sanu will do. I imagine he'll fit in just great, and the Patriots will continue to do what they do. But on the Jets side, it's just really interesting the difference in this week compared to last week, because last week was a big difference compared to all the other games that Sam Darnold had missed. We talked a lot about how bad the Jets offense looked and how disappointing that was, considering that Adam Gase was brought in here to be the head coach. Adam Gase, with the offensive background and whether he had his time with Peyton Manning and then head coach of the Miami Dolphins, he was brought in here to do one thing, and that was to develop Sam Darnold. But if Sam Darnold is not on the field, what kind of coach is Adam Gase? And we saw last week against the Cowboys, he's a different coach, and he's not as bad as we think. But then a game comes across like this where not only does Sam Darnold not look prepared, but the rest of the Jets team does not look prepared, and they just put together all-around terrible performances, probably the worst quarterback performance of any team in the NFL this year, and it was by Sam Darnold. And that quote of, "I'm seeing ghosts out there," it's gotten a lot of attention. Obviously, I've used it big time. You look at the thumbnail, you look at what I'm wearing, what I'm saying, the intro of me not being there, just having a little fun with it because it's kind of funny. But here's the thing. It was such a telling quote because it was spot on to the way Sam Darnold performed in this game. He was playing like a guy who was seeing ghosts on defense because he would get the ball high to him. He's on his back foot. He's just like, oh my God, just let me throw it up right to the other team. I mean, as soon as Sam Darnold got the ball, pick six. And he was just like, there was nobody even around him. He looked playing so scared, like there were ghosts trying to haunt him, that there were ghosts that were tackling him. So he had to get rid of the football, and he thought that he had a ghost wide receiver open, but really that's a Patriot defensive back that just picked him off. Sam Darnold had 4 interceptions in this game, and he just got rid of the ball as quick as he could. He finished with 86 yards on 32 attempts. That's almost impossible to do. Only 11 completions. Just the worst game of Sam Darnold's career, and that is not good because this is now the second year of Sam Darnold, and he's supposed to show improvement, and you have not seen it yet. Obviously, being out with mono has definitely stunted his growth a little bit, has not allowed him to get a rhythm and develop the way you'd hope. But if he's a guy that is playing scared, not only from the competition, but you do have to also worry about his health. I mean, he's a guy that doesn't want to die. I mean, that's another quote that Sam Darnold said before he had returned against Dallas, and whether he was being serious or not, you don't really know. But still, just the fact that his spleen is something that is still being looked at because of the mononucleosis, you do have to wonder about that, because here's the thing. Football is not the sport for you when you are concerned about your spleen. It's the most physical, one of the most physical sports. A lot of contact. You can't hit quarterbacks that much, but you still are going to get hit, and your spleen or any other part of your body is at risk. There's a lot of concussions, CTE. There's a lot of different injuries that go on with the NFL. So, that's definitely something to be concerned about. But if Sam Darnold is going to be playing scared for the rest of his career or the rest of his season, the Jets have a lot of question marks that they need to answer. And again, Gase is brought in here to develop Sam Darnold. And if Darnold is going to be playing like this, that's a really bad indictment of Adam Gase, especially considering how accommodating the Jets have been to Adam Gase. The way they got Mike Maccagnan fired because him and Gase didn't get along too well. They hired Joe Douglas, one of Adam Gase's buddies, to be the general manager, and they've tried to give him as much as they could, to make Gase happy. And if he's going to be this bad of a coach and the team is going to play completely awful when there were people that thought the Jets had a chance to not only win this game but at least make it competitive, to have it be this bad, that is just not good for Adam Gase at all and for the Jets, and they're going to have to turn around. The schedule does get softer. Their next game is in Jacksonville, but that's not a cakewalk in my opinion, because Jacksonville, they saw what the Patriots did against the Jets, and that was blitz a ton. And I imagine that the Jaguars are going to do the same exact thing. They still have a good defense. Guys like Calais Campbell on that defensive line, they're going to be coming after Sam Darnold. So he better hope that those ghosts are only at MetLife and that there are no ghosts in Jacksonville, and that he feels nice and safe and all he sees is Jaguars and not ghosts, so that he can get better. Because the Jets do play other soft teams. They do have to play the Dolphins some more. They have to play the Giants. There are other weak teams, the Bengals, that the Jets are going to see throughout the course of the season. And Sam Darnold has got to make the most out of those games. So you're not going to face the Patriots anymore, so that's good. But still, you're going to have to face the Ravens, which even though they don't have C.J. Mosley anymore, they're still a scary team to go up against. So hopefully Sam doesn't get too scared there. And the other thing is that if Sam is playing a style of football where it's like, I'm literally scared for my life that as soon as the ball comes to me, I'm just going to throw it so that I don't get injured or hurt my spleen or die, he needs to sit out the rest of the season, because you're not going to be able to develop him. He's not going to show any improvement if that is the way that he is going to be playing. So the Jets really have to figure out what is going on here. And then for Gase to be mad at ESPN because of the whole deal with the Monday Night Football, miking up to saying that I see ghost quote, and Gase being mad saying, I don't know how this happened, that is also a problem, because if the Jets love Adam Gase so much, why wouldn't they keep him, in the circle with what is going on around the team, saying, listen, your quarterback is going to be mic'd up during the game tonight. Are you okay with that? And Gase probably would have said no, but they went right by him, didn't even talk to him about it, and now he's mad about it. Le'Veon Bell is mad about it, and I'm sure Sam Darnold is mad about it as well, because now you just exploited a huge weakness in the guy, and like I said, Jacksonville is listening to that, and now they're going to blitz the heck out of Sam Darnold, and now we have to be worried, can Sam handle a blitz, which we don't know, because number one, he's playing scared. Number two, his offensive line is really, really bad. So there's a lot of problems going on with the Jets right now. And that stinks, because this is a team that was coming into the season with a little bit of expectations. Was supposed to be one of the better Jet years, because in the past few years, the Jets have been so bad. But with Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell, a top draft pick, spending money on guys like a C.J. Mosley, among others, getting Osemele, who now needs surgery, getting Khalil out of retirement, who looks like he should have stayed retired. So definitely a season has not, a new coach. So the season has not gone as planned for the Jets. But it's not going to be a playoff year. You just have to see improvement at Sam Darnold. It has to happen. They got to put other guys back there. They have to call some Ghostbusters, get rid of all the ghosts, and let Sam Darnold be himself and be a decent quarterback. And he needs to be the franchise quarterback for the Jets. I mean, they finally have got to find the guy. They have not been able to find one ever since Joe Namath left 50 years ago. And they haven't seen a Super Bowl in 50 years. So, kind of coincides. It's a quarterback-driven league. You have to find your quarterback. And it's very interesting that we could say the same exact thing for the Giants because, as I've said before, once Daniel Jones became the starting quarterback for the Giants, all of a sudden the Jets and Giants had very similar seasons and the same season goal. And that is to develop your young quarterbacks, find out if they are the franchise quarterbacks, and then if they are, afterwards, you got to build around them. But for Daniel Jones, ever since he made his debut and he was impressive, running, throwing, making touchdowns, big plays, Giants are winning games, which is different than the way they started the season. That was good and all, but all of a sudden he's starting to show that he's more like a rookie and not as impressive as he once was. Now, Daniel Jones did not have the best game, but he didn't have the worst game. It was way better than how Sam Darnold played. And you know what? That's kind of an issue because this is Darnold's second year. This is Daniel Jones' first year. Sam Darnold was much more regarded coming out of college than Daniel Jones was. So very different, philosophies going on here. Two different players, but both had their struggles. And Daniel Jones, if anything, he's the guy that should have been trying to get rid of the football right away as he suffered 8 sacks in this game. And that's a big problem because for a couple years now, we have been talking so much about, listen, Eli Manning cannot perform because he has no blockers. He doesn't have time to get the ball to Odell Beckham when they had him or to get it to Shepard and Ingram and Saquon. He doesn't have the time because the offensive line is so bad and Eli's under duress and he's taking hits. He can't make anything happen. So the Giants have tried to improve the offensive line, drafting a Will Hernandez and signing a Nate Solder and getting Jalapeno healthy, getting Remmers to play right tackle, making the trade for Kevin Zeitler to play right guard, hoping they can make some changes, but the Giants still, Daniel Jones gets sacked 8 times in this game. The Cardinals have some nice pass rushers. They have the veteran Terrell Suggs, but all in all, the Cardinals are not one of the top defenses in the league. They're not the New England Patriots. They're not the Packers. They're not the Vikings. They're not the Bears. They're not none of the Seahawks. None of these big-time defenses. You know what I mean? So that's definitely a problem that if the Cardinals are putting Sam Darnold under this much pressure, what's going to happen when you have to face the even better defenses? So that's definitely something that you have to be worried about. And the Giants, they got off to a really slow start in this game. Before you knew it, it was 17-0 Arizona Cardinals. They were up 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. And the Giants, they had a little bit of the long turnaround playing the Thursday night game against New England. It was raining, so, you could make some excuses here and there. All of a sudden, the Giants started to put together a competitive game, but it ended up being too little too late because Daniel Jones getting sacked 8 times, throwing the interception, fumbled a couple times. So that's definitely some rookie mistakes. He still has got to work on his ball security, but he does need to be protected because Daniel Jones is never going to be able to develop and be the best of his abilities if he does not have the protection to make plays happen. When you're a rookie quarterback, the game is going 100 miles an hour. Sometimes you could be seeing ghosts, and it's just like you need extra time to make the reads, find the right guy, get the ball to him, move down the field, get a touchdown, win games. The basic football concepts. But that definitely was fascinating. And then Saquon Barkley making his return in this game. He rushed for 72 yards. Le'Veon Bell rushed for 70 yards in the Jet game. So the 2-star running backs doing a little bit here or there. Saquon Barkley had a long of 20. That was nice. But what wasn't good is to go along with Daniel Jones getting sacked 8 times. How about all the times that Saquon Barkley was getting hit behind the line of scrimmage? And it was so bad that as soon as Barkley got the ball, there were defenders back there. So Saquon Barkley would try to run backwards and trick them and go around them and try to make a big play, and would end up losing even more yards. So again, that goes with the blocking, the offensive line, the play calling, Do the Cardinals already know what's coming? Do they know when it's a run so they have guys in the backfield? Do they know when it's a pass and they're putting a lot of pressure on Daniel Jones? So that's an indictment on Pat Shurmur. And we heard a lot of criticism about his play calling in this game and, what way he challenges, when to punt, when to call timeouts, what plays to call, when to go for it. And Shurmur, he doesn't really give you much after the game. His record is not looking good. The team is not looking good. So all of a sudden, you have two rookie quarterbacks who both, not rookie anymore for Sam Darnold, but two very young quarterbacks who both did not look very good. The coaches didn't look very good, and both the starting running backs ran for 70 yards. And they both lost the games. The Jets got blown out. The Giants were close, but this is a game the Giants really were supposed to win. The Giants were favorites in this game. They were at home, even though home isn't really home with the way these teams share the stadium and what have you. And yes, it was raining, long turnaround. But like for the Jets, Daniel Jones does have to be better than this, but the offensive line has to be a lot better. And here's the thing. How are the Giants going to improve this offensive line? Because here's the other thing. The Giants need to improve their defense. Their defense was getting torn apart by Edmonds in this game. And here's a guy who is not a household name. Does everybody know Chase Edmonds? No, they don't. But he ran for 126 yards and 3 touchdowns, and he found wide open lanes. Kyler Murray would go to him on a draw, and boom, 20 yards touchdown. Like, that cannot be happening if you are the Giants defense. And the Cardinals, they have not been that good. So they're not that good defensively. I know they have Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. Their offense hasn't been that good. Murray only threw for 104 yards in this game, and the Giants still lost and gave up 27 points. So, it's just stuff like this cannot happen. The Giants have to be better than this. Whether it's a development year or not, you have to protect Daniel Jones, and you can't let Edmonds run wild on you. So, all around, bad game for the Giants. All around, bad game for the Jets. And all around, it's been bad in New York sports. You think of the Yankees getting eliminated during the weekend. You think of the Mets still not knowing who they're going to hire for the manager. We know the Knicks aren't going to be any good. We'll see what happens with the Nets. They start on Wednesday. So I will be podcasting after the first basketball games, talk about those, what's going to happen this season. We're mostly going to talk about the Nets because we know the Knicks aren't going to be any good. But still, it's just like all of a sudden things aren't looking good in New York sports once again, which is something that we were saying last year and we were saying it again this year. But quickly, the other games around the NFL, Dallas Cowboys destroying the Philadelphia Eagles 37-10. This was a big game because of how the Cowboys lost the past few after they had won the first few. And for them to blow out the division rival in the Eagles, both these teams coming into the game 3-3, this is a big win for the Cowboys after they got beat by the Jets and everyone was mocking them. Dak Prescott, 21 out of 27, 239 yards, perfect. You don't want Dak doing too much through a pick, but I like Ezekiel Elliott, 22 carries for 111 yards. That's good, and as long as you have 37 points on the board, that's all you could ask. You know what I mean? Carson Wentz, only 191 yards. Eagles didn't do anything on the ground. So, definitely a good game for the Cowboys. So, you definitely will take that. The next game that we will go to is the New Orleans Saints beating the Chicago Bears 36-25. And the score should have been more than that. Bears got some touchdowns late. But the Saints, once Drew Brees went out, we were like, oh man, there go the Saints. This was a team that really should have been in the Super Bowl. They got robbed in the conference championship game. What's going to happen now? But listen, Teddy Bridgewater, it was a great trade for him. Of course, he came from the Jets, but they've done a good job of adjusting the system for him. And the Saints are winning games, and all of a sudden, the Bears are not looking like nearly the team they were last year when they were in the playoffs. Mitchell Trubisky has had a really bad season, and he struggled, and he had 54 pass attempts in this game. That is not the way to, do your offense. No matter how many points the Saints are putting up on you, you cannot be throwing the ball 54 times with Trubisky, and still you're not going to win the game. They ran the ball not even a handful of times. So all around, bad game from the Bears. You expect more out of them being at home with an offensive-minded head coach in Matt Nagy, but Matt Nagy could do whatever he wants. If Mitchell Trubisky is going to be that bad, the Bears are in a really tough spot right now. And they'll be curious to see what's going to happen with them going forward. Next game that was a bit of a surprise, the Baltimore Ravens defeating the Seattle Seahawks 30-16. I thought Seattle was going to win this game. Being at home, the Ravens have not been as good as they're supposed to be. Seattle has had a lot of close games, but they've found ways to win. Russell Wilson has a lot to do with that. He's an MVP candidate. He's a clutch quarterback. But Seattle, they've had games that should have been closer than they're supposed to be. Same could be said for the Ravens. But Lamar Jackson performed this game both throwing and passing. Only 143 yards passing, but he had 116 yards rushing. And he's just a really good dual-threat quarterback. You don't know what's coming. One of the big things in this game was Marcus Peters having a pick six. The Ravens just acquired him, getting him from the Rams, with the Rams getting Jalen Ramsey. And for the Rams, that was a real puzzling move to me because Jalen Ramsey, Marcus Peters, Ramsey's better, but is he 2 first-round picks better? I don't think he is. And the other thing, when you bring in a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who had just complained with Jacksonville and was a problem there and faking injuries. I know Marcus Peters isn't exactly the best locker room guy, but still, a really puzzling move from the Rams. And they've just had a weird season. I've been talking about them every. The Marcus Peters, Jalen Ramsey trade, it was surprising, but the Rams, they've had struggles this season, but in this game, they were much better as they blow out the Falcons 37-10. Jared Goff looked better, going 23 out of 37 for 268 yards. Todd Gurley ran the ball 18 times for only 41 yards, so you'd like to see Gurley play a little better. He's been banged up the past couple of years, so we'll see how he is going forward, if he will be healthy. But for the Falcons, I talked about it last week, it's been a very rough season for them, and it's been rough for them ever since they blew a golden opportunity to beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl, had that epic collapse, and they have just been in a spiral, going forward. And for Schwab to come in this game after Matt Ryan getting sacked a bunch of times, that is not good at all for Atlanta. And again, I don't know what they're going to do going forward. They're another team that they're going to have to make some significant changes. Next game, Tennessee Titans beating the Chargers 23-20, and a disappointing season for Los Angeles continues as the Titans, they beat them, and Phillip Rivers has a nice game, 24 out of 38, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns, only gets sacked once. Melvin Gordon, once again, did not do much on the ground. That's fascinating how much he complained about the holdouts, saying, I want my money and everything, and now today he's saying his holdout was a fail, which it obviously was because he didn't get his rhythm and in the perfect football shape and the preparation and all these, and getting the chemistry with Phillip Rivers and the offensive linemen and the whole team. And with all that combined, he has not had a good season, and the Chargers have not had a good year either. As the Titans win this game with Ryan Tannehill as the starting quarterback, they weren't even using Marcus Mariota. And Tannehill throws for 312 yards. Henry runs for 90 yards, so both offensively and defensively, Chargers are struggling. And they're a team that they usually figure it out and they find a way to sneak into the playoffs or be in the wild card race. But I don't know if it's going to happen this year. I feel like them, similar to Atlanta, they just have to find something different. They either got to change quarterbacks, they have to change coaches, they got to change personnel. They have to change a lot of different things. Both of those teams, they're in very tough spots in their franchises right now. Another team that's in a terrible spot, Cincinnati Bengals, they lose 27-17 to Jacksonville. And again, until AJ Green comes back, you're going to continue to see the underperformance from Andy Dalton, who throws 3 picks this game, goes 22 out of 43. And that plays right into the Jaguars' hands. And Gardner Minshew didn't have to do much in this game. 14 out of 32 for 255 yards. Let Leonard Fournette eat. 29 carries for 131 yards. And that was all that the Jaguars needed in this game to win. And Cincinnati continues to be winless. So that's another team that really, they have got to make a lot of changes if they want to be a competitive team. Next game, Minnesota Vikings beating the Detroit Lions 42-30 in Detroit. And all of a sudden, after we had that Stephon Diggs comment about throwing the ball down the field and wanting to be traded, the Vikings offense has finally figured it out. Kirk Cousins is playing much better. Throws for 337 yards this game with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. Dalvin Cook with a really good game on the ground. Diggs got 142 yards in the air. Adam Thielen, he only had 1 catch for 25 yards, so they were more accommodating to Diggs than Thielen in this game. But still, not a good game for the Lions, and now they traded their safety Diggs, and you're seeing some other moves around the NFL. The 49ers acquiring Emmanuel Sanders, that's a pretty big deal because the 49ers, we'll go to them next, they're undefeated. They defeat the Washington Redskins 9-0. Obviously not a pretty score considering how bad the Redskins have been this year. And Jimmy Garoppolo did not have a good game offensively, only 151 yards, an interception, couple sacks. This is a game that there definitely was some rain going on. But this 49ers team has been built on their defense, and their defense continues to play really well. I know Washington is bad, but anytime you shut a team out in the National Football League, that's always really encouraging. And we know the defense is really good. Giving Jimmy Garoppolo Emmanuel Sanders is going to make the offense better, which is only going to make the 49ers even better. So they've been a real nice surprise team, and, good for them. That's definitely, a nice story to see. You don't want to see the same teams winning all the time unless you're a fan of that particular team. Another team that I've talked about all year that I've been very proud of, Indianapolis Colts, and they defeat the Houston Texans 30-23. Jacoby Brissett, 326 yards in the air with 4 touchdowns. And I believe that it's fascinating that Brissett and Garoppolo were both backups to Tom Brady the year that he sat out a few games because of Deflategate in the Super Bowl and what have you. And they played pretty well for the Patriots, and now they're both starting quarterbacks, and both of them are playing really well on their respective teams. They're winning teams. Both could be in the playoffs this year, so I think that's a great story for both of them, especially the Colts. Again, when Andrew Luck retired, it looked like you could just packed it in, be like, oh, not our year, now we have to find another quarterback because we don't have Andrew Luck anymore. But Brissett has stepped right in and has done such a fantastic job. You have to give Frank Reich and all those guys in Indianapolis a ton of credit because Brissett was really good. Deshaun Watson had a pretty good game, but he did turn over a couple of times and he got sacked a few. And the Texans were not able to run the ball much in this game. So when you combine all that, it's going to be tough to beat Indianapolis. So good win there. Bills beat the Dolphins 31-21, and Buffalo continues to have a good season. They're 5-1, and the Dolphins continue to have a terrible year. You had Ryan Fitzpatrick starting. Had an okay game, but it doesn't matter because they're just overmatched. And Buffalo, they don't blow you away. They don't have any stats that completely jump out and you're like, oh my gosh, well, Josh Allen had the most amazing game ever. Or Frank Gore looks like vintage Frank Gore. And Frank Gore looks pretty good, but it's nothing that you're like, oh my gosh, because the Bills did that, they won. I mean, this is more so like the Bills have been good this year. The Dolphins have been bad this year. Bills are at home. Kind of an easy win. So, good win for the Bills because they're a team that I've said it before, but they're the only true New York team because they're the only football team that actually plays in New York as a home stadium, but we never talk about them. We only talk about the Jets and Giants. Meanwhile, the Bills' record is better than both of them combined. So, that's just, very side note there. Green Bay Packers having a vintage game, though, beating the Raiders 42-24. And this is good for Green Bay because they had not been themselves quite yet, even though they were still winning games. And Aaron Rodgers was playing pretty well. They were being carried by their defense and not their offense, which if you know Green Bay, that is not the way that they play. But Aaron Rodgers throwing for 429 yards in this game with 5 touchdowns. That is more like the Aaron Rodgers than you know. Oakland, I mean, they've won some games here and there, but they are not that good. And it's good to see the Packers, beat themselves again. So that's definitely a big win for them. And we'll finish it off with Kansas City defeating Denver 30-6. And Mahomes got hurt in this game. Looked like his kneecap got all messed up. And he was having a good game, going 10 out of 11. But regardless, the Broncos, they've had a really bad year. And I mean, this was at home. And they still lost to the Chiefs 30-6. So, I mean, a lot of these matchups, you knew that these teams were going to win. Games like the one with Buffalo and Miami, or with San Francisco and Washington, or Kansas City and Denver. Even Minnesota and Detroit, you have a good idea that the Vikings are going to win, or the game with the Bengals and the Jaguars and the Patriots Jets. Like, there were a lot of unfair matchups in this week. So we'll see what happens next week, and we're getting a better idea of what teams are. We know what teams are bad, what teams are good. We're starting to see more trades happening. Teams are, knowing themselves more. The Lions are saying, okay, we're not that good. We're going to lose a piece. The 49ers are saying, hey, we're undefeated. Let's make our offense better. Let's get Emmanuel Sanders. And now we have to report that teams are looking into Robbie Anderson. So I wonder what the Jets are going to do there. I would try to keep him because you need as many targets for Sam Darnold as possible, especially a young one that he's had some chemistry with, that he's found down the field. That's very important. And unless you're getting a package that blows you away, I personally would keep on to Robbie Anderson for now. If he starts to play bad again, I mean, teams aren't going to want him anymore, but obviously then I'd be more willing to trade him. But I'm not Joe Douglas. I'm not Adam Gase. I'm just a ghost. You didn't even see me. Have a good one, everybody. No, but still, if you like this video, leave a like, comment some feedback. What do you think about what's going on with the NFL season? And, the different things I try, different thumbnail, different background, all different stuff. We're messing around, having fun, talking sports. It's what I like to do, and hopefully you guys enjoy listening. Subscribe to keep up with other stuff. Basketball coming, World Series starting, and more football along the way. Have a good one, everybody.